Pain often arrives uninvited, unannounced, and unwanted. It shatters plans, disturbs routines, and pulls the floor out from under us. When we find ourselves in emotional agony, physical distress, or psychological despair, the first instinct is to question everything: our choices, our worth, even our faith. It's natural to assume that pain is a form of punishment, a signal that we've failed, or a cruel interruption on the road to success. But pain is not a punishment. It's a preparation. It is the process that strengthens what comfort can never reach. Ask yourself, when did you grow the most in your life? Was it during times of ease, when everything was going well and everyone clapped for you? Or was it during moments of crisis, betrayal, rejection, or loss? The truth is that pain forces us into depth. It introduces us to parts of ourselves we didn't know existed. When a bone breaks and heals correctly, it becomes stronger at the point of the break. The fracture becomes a site of reinforced strength. It's not a weakness. It's a badge of resilience. Human beings operate the same way. Pain breaks us, yes, but it also rebuilds us smarter, deeper, more grounded. Think about the gym. When someone lifts weights, they are literally tearing muscle fibers. Those tears are microscopic injuries. The soreness you feel the next day, that's pain with purpose. It's a signal that your body is growing stronger. Without that strain, there is no transformation. Comfort zones don't produce power. Struggle does. The same concept applies to your emotional life. A heartbreak doesn't just tear at your heart. It often forces you to reevaluate your worth, your standards, your boundaries. A job loss can break your sense of identity, but it can also break open your creativity and push you to build something greater than what you were settling for. A betrayal might wound you deeply, but it often becomes the seed of discernment and clarity in relationships moving forward. Every major transformation begins with discomfort. The caterpillar must dissolve inside the cocoon before it can become a butterfly. That stage between crawling and flying is painful, messy, and terrifying, but it is necessary. Without the breakdown, there is no breakthrough. People tend to avoid pain. They numb it, distract from it, or silence it. But pain is a messenger. It's telling you that something is happening inside you, something real, something sacred. If you listen closely, pain doesn't just scream, it teaches. It points to what matters most. It reveals what needs to be healed, what needs to be let go, what needs to be pursued. Too often we pray for strength, but we reject the very experience that would produce it. We ask for wisdom, but we resist the suffering that teaches it. We long for growth, yet we flee the discomfort that forces us to evolve. When life pushes you to the ground, it's tempting to stay there and assume defeat. But pain is not pushing you down to destroy you. It's pressing you into your potential. Diamonds are made under pressure. Steel is forged in fire. The strongest trees grow in the harshest winds. There's a story about a young man who failed over and over. He lost his job, went bankrupt, suffered deep depression, and was told he would never succeed. In that pain, he found a sense of mission. He used his rock bottom as a foundation to rise. That man was Abraham Lincoln, one of the most respected leaders in history. Without the pain of his early life, he may never have developed the empathy, endurance, and clarity required to lead a divided nation through civil war. Real preparation is not external, it's internal. It's the unseen shaping of character, the forging of emotional endurance, the strengthening of your inner resolve. Pain is how life prepares you for the weight of what you're destined to carry. Without it, you wouldn't be ready. When you stop seeing pain as an enemy and start recognizing it as a sculptor, chipping away at your fear, ego, and weakness, then pain becomes sacred. It becomes transformative. No, pain doesn't feel good. It's not supposed to, but it has a purpose. And if you allow it to do its work, it will shape you into someone more powerful, more grounded, and more alive than you ever imagined possible. Every person we admire, every leader, artist, thinker, or innovator has one thing in common. They were shaped by struggle. Adversity doesn't just test us, it reveals us. It uncovers potential that lies dormant when everything is going well. Comfort doesn't demand anything from us, but adversity, it asks us to dig deeper, to find something stronger, wiser, more courageous than what we believed we had. Look at history. Nelson Mandela spent 27 years in prison, not a palace, not a school, a prison. He emerged not bitter, but brilliant, not broken, but bold. Why? Because while he was confined on the outside, he was expanding on the inside. The pressure didn't crush him, it clarified him. His time in prison refined his sense of justice and shaped him into the leader who would help heal a divided nation. Adversity is life's most honest teacher. It strips away distractions, exposes illusions, and confronts us with who we really are. When you're in pain, you stop pretending. You stop performing. You're forced to sit with your truth. And from that truth, greatness begins to grow. It's easy to be patient when nothing tests your patience. It's easy to be kind when no one is mistreating you. It's easy to have faith when everything is going your way. But none of that reveals your depth. What matters is who you are when the storm hits, who you become when everything familiar is stripped away. We live in a world that often worships results and overlooks the process. We see the bestseller, not the rejections. We see the medal, not the years of early mornings, the injuries, the moments of doubt. We see the platform, not the isolation. But every success has a backstory filled with struggle. Adversity is the training ground for greatness. It builds mental endurance. It fuels creativity. It forces you to innovate, to adjust, to learn. Some of the greatest inventions, movements, and ideas were born not in comfort, but in crisis. Take Helen Keller, for example. Deaf and blind before the age of 2, she faced challenges few of us can imagine. Yet through perseverance and the guidance of her teacher Anne Sullivan, she became an author, speaker, and advocate who changed the world's perception of disability. Without her adversity, that voice would never have emerged. When you're facing hardship, it's tempting to believe you're being punished or abandoned. But the truth may be very different. You may be in the middle of being prepared for influence, for leadership, for a calling bigger than yourself. The soil of adversity may feel like it's burying you, but it could be planting you. Growth requires resistance. A seed must push through soil to reach the sun. A baby bird must break through its shell to take flight. And you must move through pain to access your power. The fight is part of the formula. The people who rise from adversity don't do so because they avoided pain. They did so because they faced it head on. They didn't wait for life to be fair. They decided to get stronger. They used every scar as a story, every setback as a step forward. There is a kind of pain that doesn't show on the outside. No bandage can cover it. No cast can hold it in place. It's the pain of disappointment, of grief, of loneliness, of betrayal. The kind of pain that wakes you in the middle of the night and sits on your chest like a weight you can't lift. This pain isn't visible, but it is real. And while we're often told to move past it quickly, the truth is, it has value. Emotional pain has the power to deepen you. It doesn't just hurt you, it changes you. It can soften the heart that was once closed. It can humble the ego that was once arrogant. It can teach compassion where judgment once lived. People who've suffered deeply often see the world differently. They walk more slowly, speak more thoughtfully, listen more carefully. They understand silence. They understand sorrow. They don't rush others through their grief because they remember what it felt like to be rushed through their own. Emotional pain is sacred ground. It's where empathy grows. It's where you begin to connect with others, not because of what they've done, but because of what they've endured. It removes the mask of perfection and reminds us that we are all struggling, all yearning, all human. The Japanese art of kintsugi reflects this perfectly. When a piece of pottery breaks, it is repaired with gold, highlighting the cracks instead of hiding them. The brokenness becomes part of the story. More than that, it becomes part of the value. That is what emotional pain can do to the soul. It can fill the fractures with something more beautiful than what was there before. You may not see it while you're in the middle of heartbreak, but every tear that falls waters the roots of something lasting, whether it's wisdom, creativity, spiritual awareness, or emotional strength. Sometimes the deepest pain leads to the most authentic voice. Many artists, poets, healers, and leaders have found their purpose in the ashes of their suffering. Frida Kahlo painted masterpieces from a place of physical and emotional agony. Maya Angelou wrote words that shook the world, words forged in the fires of trauma, racism, and abuse. Their pain didn't destroy them. It defined them. You don't have to be an artist or a public figure for your pain to have meaning. If you've ever held someone through their grief because you knew exactly how it felt, then your pain built something sacred in you. If you've ever stayed quiet in a moment where others were loud, offering presence instead of platitudes, that's spiritual depth. That's strength born from suffering. You may never thank the pain, but one day you might understand what it gave you: clarity, purpose, tenderness, truth. And that is something no comfort could have ever taught. Some of the most powerful stories begin in places of deep pain, not success, not celebration, but raw, unfiltered agony. It's often in the most broken moments of our lives that purpose quietly begins to form, not with clarity, not with certainty, but with whispers. The loss that breaks you may also reveal what you're truly here to do. People don't wake up one morning with a clear map to their life's mission. It's rarely that neat. Purpose doesn't usually appear when everything's going right. It shows up when everything falls apart. Think of people who spend their lives helping others through grief, addiction, or trauma. Where did their calling begin? Often, it started with their own wounds. People don't become therapists because they read about sadness in a textbook. They become therapists because they've wrestled with darkness and come out the other side with wisdom they're driven to share. Pain becomes purpose when we stop asking, "Why did this happen to me?" and start asking, "What can I create from this?" J.K. Rowling was a single mother, unemployed, and struggling with depression when she began writing Harry Potter. The story didn't just entertain millions, it gave her life meaning in the middle of despair. She didn't wait until she was successful to start writing. She wrote through the pain. That pain sharpened her voice, deepened her storytelling, and fueled her determination. There's something universal about this pattern. We see it in everyday people. A woman who loses her child starts a foundation to support other grieving parents. A man who grew up in poverty becomes a mentor for kids from his old neighborhood. A young adult battling cancer begins sharing their journey online, not for sympathy, but to give others courage. Pain puts you in direct contact with something real. It removes the shallow concerns of everyday life and brings you face to face with what truly matters. From that place, purpose is born, not always instantly, but gradually as you begin to rebuild. You may feel like your suffering has no meaning, like you're just surviving day by day. But within that survival, something sacred is forming. You're learning how to endure, how to care more deeply, how to stand when everything inside you says, fall. Purpose doesn't require you to be famous, flawless, or fearless. It only requires that you remain open. Open to the idea that what you're going through might one day help someone else get through their own storm. When you look back on the hardest chapters of your life, ask yourself, what did that experience teach me that I couldn't have learned any other way? What insight, what strength, what truth was born there? Your answer might point directly toward your purpose. Growth demands sacrifice. Before you can rise, you will almost always be brought low. There is no transformation without trial. You don't become more without first being undone. We admire butterflies, but forget what comes before the wings. The caterpillar must completely dissolve in the cocoon. It breaks itself down on a cellular level. That period in the dark, suspended in stillness and struggle, is the beginning of flight. Your transformation may feel like destruction, but it's actually recreation. The trial is not a delay. It's not life getting in the way of your progress. It is the path. It is the process. The universe has a way of testing us before it trusts us. Every trial is asking, can you stay grounded when nothing makes sense? Can you keep walking when the road disappears? Can you remain faithful to the vision even when there's no visible progress? These trials often come uninvited. Illness, betrayal, rejection, failure, and they don't just test your skills, they test your spirit. When your career falls apart, the trial isn't just financial, it's emotional. You begin to question your identity, your self-worth, your future. When someone you love walks away, the trial isn't just loss, it's abandonment, loneliness, the fear that you're not enough. These aren't surface-level disruptions, they go straight to the core. But that's where transformation begins, in the core, when the exterior is stripped away and only your essence remains. A man once said, "I didn't know my own strength until being strong was my only choice." That is the essence of a trial. It doesn't just reveal strength, it creates it. If you've ever watched someone rebuild their life after hitting rock bottom, you've seen what transformation looks like in real time. It's not glamorous, it's gritty, it's filled with tears, setbacks, long nights, and silent prayers. But over time, they start to emerge, not as the person they were, but as someone refined, someone rebuilt. That's the kind of transformation that lasts, because it wasn't based on pretending. It came through fire. Think of people like Oprah Winfrey, born into poverty, abused as a child, told she would never succeed. Her early life was one trial after another, but those trials forged her into a woman who could carry enormous influence without losing her humanity. The fire didn't just shape her, it prepared her to impact millions. Every time you overcome a trial, you become someone new, not someone perfect, but someone more real, more aligned with who you were meant to be. Trials strip away illusions. They burn off what is shallow and leave behind only what is solid. Your relationships, your values, your goals, everything gets reevaluated in the heat of suffering, and through that, transformation takes place. The pain you're going through now may not make sense today, but it is forming the foundation for the person you're becoming. You may not see the wings yet, but you are already in the cocoon, and the process is working. You've been told that pain is something to avoid, something to suppress, something to push past as quickly as possible. But pain, real, honest, soul-wrenching pain, is often the most accurate compass you'll ever have. It doesn't just show up to break you. It shows up to build you. It comes to burn away what is false, what is weak, what is no longer needed, and what's left behind. That's the truth of who you are. That's the beginning of something greater. You've heard how pain is preparation, how it doesn't punish, it purifies. You've seen that adversity is not a detour. It is the terrain of greatness. You've been reminded that emotional wounds, though invisible, carve out the capacity for spiritual depth, empathy, and connection. And you now know that your greatest trials are often the birthplace of your deepest transformation. What if the struggle you're in today is developing the strength you need for tomorrow? What if that heartbreak, that failure, that breakdown, what if it's shaping the very wisdom you'll one day use to heal, to lead, to love on a deeper level? There is no wasted pain, not the quiet, private suffering, not the loud, devastating collapse, not the lonely nights when you thought you couldn't keep going. Every single moment has a role in your becoming. Not one of them is meaningless. And here's what matters most. You don't have to wait until the pain is over to start becoming who you're meant to be. You can begin in it right here, right now. You can stand in the ashes of what was and start planting the seeds of what could be. You can choose not to run from your pain, but to rise through it. So the next time pain visits, instead of asking, "Why me?" ask, "What is this here to teach me?" Ask, "What strength is being born in me?" Ask, "How can I use this to help someone else someday?" Because the day will come when your story, your exact story, becomes someone else's survival guide. You will become the voice you once needed. You will become the light in someone else's darkness. You will become living proof that pain can lead to purpose, that wounds can heal, and that something greater can grow from everything that tried to destroy you. You are not being buried. You are being planted, and your pain, it's preparing you for something greater. Thank you.